Hello, I'm Philip Stoten. I'm here at CES 2014 in Las Vegas, and I'm joined by Ron Keefe on the booth of Riverwood Solutions. Ron, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
How's it been today? What have you been doing? What have you been looking at?
You know, most of the day I did booth duty. We're exhibiting here for the first time. Thought we'd try and drum up some new customers. It's been pretty interesting. A lot of people coming by, asking what we do, and trying to figure out how to get their products made.
Okay, and you're in what's called the Eureka Park area. I've walked around here. Some really cool new products, some really crazy products that don't make a whole lot of sense to me. What I'm taken by is the kind of the way that a product comes to market now. It just seems to get there really fast, really exciting. I spoke to a couple of guys over there that have got like a cool skateboard thing with a big wheel in the middle. They were on Kickstarter. They've been on there for the last 24 hours. Have sold something like 35 units at $1,200, like $40,000 in their first day of business. How does that work?
I think part of what has enabled that over the last couple of years is people don't have to go build stuff themselves. And so there's such a robust industry of component suppliers and subsystem suppliers and contract manufacturers that if you have a good idea, you can go subcontract some of the design work, and you can find a manufacturing partner, and you can bring to bear resources as if you were a couple of 100-person firm, and you might be three guys in a corner booth.
Yeah.
And I've seen a bunch of that. Eureka Park is mostly these little 10 and 20 square foot or 10 and 20 foot booths that are very young companies with interesting new ideas. And it's amazing how much innovation today comes from these little tiny companies as opposed to the Microsofts and the HPs of the world. Microsoft and HP have kind of gotten into this model where they source innovation. And sourcing innovation is I either work with innovative design firms or I wait to see which of these small companies really get traction, and I just go scoop them up.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to make some of this innovation work in this big corporate structure, let's let the market sort itself out. When we see a little bit of traction, when we see a five-person company go to 20 people, and let's jump in there and get them then, take some of the risk out.
Okay, so if that's the case, if you're an inventor, if you've come up with something, what do you need? Who do you need to get around you, and how do you access that contract manufacturing world that will be that partner? First of all, who do you need inside? Who do you need in your own organization?
Well, I think there's three key pieces that you need internally. One, you need the product visionary. And typically that's a technologist of some form. If it's a software company, it might be a coding geek. If it's a hardware company, it might be somebody with a deep design background. But if someone has a passion for the product and enough internal capabilities to get part of the way there, to at least articulate the vision, maybe sketch it out, maybe even prototype it. And then you need someone on the sales and marketing side. Okay, this is a great widget you see over here in the corner. Who's going to buy it? Is it direct sales? Am I doing my own kind of web storefront? Am I doing Amazon? Am I looking for big box guys to pick it up? So you need someone that's the product visionary. You need someone that's the sales/market, maybe branding visionary. And typically you need some kind of a financial person. Unless you truly need zero capital, you need someone to do a little bit of the bookkeeping, to meet with some angels, to meet with some VCs, maybe to represent you on Kickstarter or one of these things. But the number of companies here that have less than 5 employees, I bet there's 100 in this building that have less than 5 employees.
Yeah, and some with some real products that will come to market, that'll grow fast, scale fast. If you're that kind of company, can you access the big EMS guys, or do you have to find the right partner to access?
Well, I think the real question is, should you?
Okay.
But to answer your question, I think you can access them. As the industry has slowed, and I don't know if you read the Manufacturing Market Insider, John does this update every quarter of what the growth is. The growth in the industry last year was about a -4 points. And as the growth has slowed, and as the big deals, Nortel's not selling any more factories, right? And Alcatel's not getting out of any other businesses. As those big deals have gone away, the big guys like the Jabills and the Flexes and Celesticas and Sanminas of the world have gotten more aggressive. And I used to work in that business, and in the old day, if you didn't have $25 million to spend, you couldn't get a return phone call. And we've placed some business with some of these big guys that's $3 million a year, $3 million maybe.
Yeah.
Right. So you can access it. The question is, should you?
Right.
And you can access it if you have something that they think of as, look, this could be a real hit. We typically advise people to be a little bit bigger fish in a smaller pond, where you can command a little more mind share. because all of these guys are beholden to big customers, and end of the quarter or push comes to shove, if they need resources, it's usually going to be the low customer on the totem pole that has the resources pulled from that account.
Yeah. Okay, and again, going back to the guy with the cool skateboard, looking at that product, not going to be much PCBA in there. It seems now that the products that are coming to market have got plastics going on, metals, all kinds of other manufacturing technology that we don't necessarily associate with those PCBA contract manufacturers. Is that available in the marketplace, in the infrastructure? Are there people that can take that really broad product requirement?
Oh, there's lots of suppliers to do that. And in fact, most of the people that are kind of PCBA centric are trying to be more diversified and trying to do more mechanical assembly. And it's not just, I want higher value add, it's I want something that's somewhat differentiated. And differentiated may be, this is too small and under the radar, nobody wants to mess with it, and if it's successful, I can make some good margin on it. And differentiated may be technology-based. You know, if you look at Jabil's acquisition of Greenpoint, they really bought some meaningful mechanical technology, something that they didn't have, and they felt like they could sell it into their existing space. So I think the commoditized, pure play, I stuff PC boards is a really tough way to make a living. And so the big guys, the little guys, the guys in the middle, they're all looking for ways to differentiate themselves without, you know, buying another Fuji line and slapping some screens on it and running your boards.
Okay. And in terms of, again, taking these kind of new creative products, initially they're probably going to be manufacturing locally, manufacturing in region. When they start to market and sell that product, and probably the guys on Kickstarter have sold these 30 odd devices, probably in 10 different countries, who knows where they are. How do they deal with that challenge of kind of globalizing that product once they've got up through the initial stage? Because the small guy down the road isn't going to be able to do that for them.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't think through it initially. You know, they take the orders and then they try and figure out what they need to do. And part of it initially is purely a logistics issue. Okay, I can build in one place and I can sell my skateboard in Zimbabwe and my MP3 player in Lithuania. That's not a big deal. But when you start selling meaningful volumes in meaningfully geographically disparate regions, especially when lead times come into play and when the cost of getting them into different regions becomes meaningful, then they need to start thinking about those types of things. And you know, there's a number of different tiers in the EMS space. There's the purely local tier, which according to our data is somewhere around 9,000 companies in the world. And I have one factory and it's in Cleveland and that's what I do. Yeah. But above that there are these kind of regional and super regional players, and then there are these global players. And the global players are people that have meaningful operations with some transparency, some commonality of process across 3 or more continents, and there's probably 70 of those guys. Okay. So there's no lack of places to go source this type of stuff.
Yeah. And if I'm going through that process, should I be looking straight away for the partner that I'm going to end up with, or am I going to step through? Am I going to choose the guy in Cleveland and then I'm going to move on to the next tier, or should I be looking for the right one straight away?
You know, it's interesting. I'm going to answer that in a roundabout way. We have a small human capital practice, and in our human capital practice, we help people do some hiring in their operating roles, because we also do some consulting, and a lot of times we find that part of the problem is you don't have enough of the right people or the right people. And you know, 10 times a year, I'll have a meeting with a CEO or a venture capital firm, and they'll say, we need a VP of Ops, and we want someone who can take us from zero where we are to $1 billion. And I say, I've not met that person yet. And I think that's 3 different people. Yeah. You know, you have early on, you have this stage where you need incredible responsiveness. And so you want to be with a company where you are very important to them. And you know, if you're spending a couple $1 million, I don't care who you're with in the top tier, you're not going to be certain that you're going to have that. You might have that this week, or you might have it under this program manager. And the same with hiring these operating execs. In the early stage, you want someone that can do a whole bunch of stuff that's very handy on their own, that'll make stuff happen. Yeah. And then you grow into this next phase. And just like in the hiring, the supply chain is the same way. So do you have to start with someone who's going to be able to take you global? I would suggest not only do you not have to, it works out well very seldomly.
Yeah. Okay, fascinating. Well, some interesting products here. I'm going to get another look at them. I'm going to have a good look around the halls tomorrow at things like wearables, the automotive, the medical sector. Seems to be a lot of key sectors, if you like, with stuff going on. can I touch base with you tomorrow and we'll have a chat about those and
talk
figure
about
out
wearables tomorrow.
Okay, thanks,
All right.
Ron.
Thank you very
Speak
much.
soon.
Good
Cheers.
seeing you.